We're here at the Hollywood Costume Exhibition at the V&A. Now, anyone that's been following Twitter will know I am so excited about this exhibition. I've been looking forward to it for a year. There are so many amazing costumes, a few from Joan Crawford, some Hitchcock films, just absolutely wonderful things on show. There is such a wealth of information in this exhibition. It's not just showing the costumes on mannequins, but there is the information about where the costume designers get their inspiration, the process they go through, and how they create a character, as well as in-depth interviews with many of the actors and actresses who portrayed the characters that wore these costumes. Well, I'm going to stop talking now so you can see the absolutely wonderful costumes they've got on display here. This is Sadie Doherty for the Vintage News.
Deborah Landis said to me recently this show could only happen at the V&A, and she's absolutely right, because this exhibition is all about creative process and how things are made, and that's exactly what the V&A is all about.
This is a big day for costume design, and a big day for costume designers. I started coming to the V&A when I was 10 years old, and when I was about 15 years old, I started writing to James Laver, who had been the very distinguished keeper of prints and drawings here. So that was when I was living in New York, and just kind of a New York girl who had been making things and designing things, I think from birth. I've always been attached, it must be in my DNA, with history and design and literature. Those qualities, I only lately found out, really define costume design and costume designers. It's also a quality that would have led me anyway to the V&A, which is the pantheon, the top of design and the history of design in the world. Every object in this museum tells a story, and that's really what we've tried to do in this exhibition. We are essentially designing the center of every frame, because in the center, in the crosshairs of every single frame, are going to be the people that we care about in the movie, and the people tell the story. So let me tell you a little bit about this exhibition. The exhibition is divided into 3 acts. The first act, you'll see going through, is deconstruction. There's a huge difference between fashion and costume design. So this deconstruction will lead you from the screenplay. You'll start with a screenplay on the first script, because costumes don't happen without a screenplay. Second gallery, second act, we have 4 directors sitting with 4 of their creative collaborators. They're key collaborators, because of course the costume designer must be the key collaborator, because they're designing what's in the center of the frame. So it's the dialogue. You'll meet Marty Scorsese, you'll meet Mike Nichols, you'll meet Tim Burton, you'll see Mr. Hitchcock with all of their designers, Miss Head, Miss Roth, Miss Atwood, and Miss Powell, right? And you'll sit down and you'll listen to their work together. Turn the corner and you'll have this feeling about 100 years of context, how costume designers' work has changed and basically has not changed within the last 100 years of cinema. And then you'll meet Robert De Niro and Meryl Streep talking about their work and costuming and how they use costuming for transformation. And finally, you'll come into the last gallery, the third act, which is the finale. And it's just meant to blow your mind. I hope you understand that costume design is really not about the clothes, getting authentic individuals every single time, because we don't know what's going to be in our mailbox. But we proceed in our creative process the same way, and we're as dedicated to every single genre.
The V&A has been increasingly using film over the last few years as a kind of visual context. And the V&A also, of course, has huge galleries devoted to fashion, to textiles, and to theatre costume. But that is precisely what this exhibition isn't about. It's about a very distinctive form of design, as Deborah said, costumes to be worn by a particular person at a particular moment, under particular lights, in a particular story, under a particular director. It's got to work at that moment, and that's a very different form of design to either fashion design or theatre design. So you almost feel as if you've been to a movie as you go through it, a continuous soundtrack and all these costumes and a lot of digital help. So you kind of feel you're watching a movie. It isn't frocks on dummies, I'm pleased to say, and that's quite important. And finally, as I've said, this really propels the V&A into the front line of thinking about this area. But more than that, I've been working for 2 or 3 years on something that came to fruition last night, which was announced, which is that the British Film Institute has very generously donated 700 costumes, its entire costume collection, to the... So not only is the V&A putting on this absolute landmark exhibition, it has become, overnight, the national collection of film costume.